Yo, what is up everybody, it's Jay the Great here and welcome back to another reaction video here today. And today we have a bizarre but oddly intriguing concept by the Great Six, and as you can tell by the title, this is Goku a sociopath? Analyzing Dragon Ball Z. So folks, it's been quite some time since we've reacted to an intriguing topic that is not Naruto, and Dragon Ball specifically happens to be one of my favorite anime, alongside Naruto of course. So this topic certainly caught my eye, and it's a quite intriguing one. But important note I want to make before we continue is, if you have any other creators or topics or specific videos you'd like me to react to, please let me know in the comment section below. And if you guys do see good recommendations, make sure to hit the like button on those comments. And the comments that have the most likes will result in me reacting to the video, creator, etc. that is within that comment, right? So make sure to get some recommendations, even if it's not anime, whatever it may be. I will do it if enough of you show that you want me to react to that. I will certainly do that for you guys. Appreciate all the support over the years. But continuing on with this, Goku being a sociopathic individual is certainly an interesting concept to try and analyze. Right, first of all, let's go ahead and define sociopath, because it tends to be a thrown around term, yet most people don't understand the true definition of it, the professional medical term, if you will. Right? So let's go ahead and look at a couple of definitions here. One definition from Google is a person with a personality disorder manifesting itself in extreme antisocial attitudes and behavior and a lack of conscience. Right, so that's one definition. And another one here from a medically reviewed article, meaning a medical professional peer-reviewed this and made sure this was correct, right? So the definition here is, the term sociopath is used to describe what a mental health professional would diagnose as antisocial personality disorder. Symptoms may include disregard for others, a lack of empathy, and dishonest behavior. I'm sure Six is going to do this either way, but I wanted to define it before we begin. So trying to extrapolate empirical pieces of evidence for Goku and trying to argue that he is a sociopath seems like a hard bargain in my mind. So who knows, maybe Six is trying to debunk that he's a sociopath. But either way, if I was trying to make an argument that he was, I would say maybe the fact that he's always fighting anywhere from global to universal threats on a regular basis. You could argue, well, with him doing so, he is accepting the risk of absolute annihilation from a global to a possible universal scale, right? You can make the argument that makes him a sociopathic individual. But I would counter that and say, well, he is doing so to avoid a higher probability of global to universal destruction by fighting these individuals that are capable of this level of AP, right? So I think it's easier to construct the antithesis of Goku being a sociopathic individual, which is that he's not, right? Because I just don't see that sort of behavior from him. Dragon Ball in general is a combat-themed anime, right? There's constant combat, and with combat comes the inevitable probability of destruction. You can't really avoid that. But to counter Goku being a sociopath, I would once again say that he is in these combat altercations because he's trying to avoid these antagonists causing destruction and harm to humanity and to the universe at large once we get to a certain part in the narrative, right? So either way, I am intrigued to see what Six has to say. I'm assuming he's going to try to argue that he's not a sociopath, but maybe I'll be surprised, and he makes a good case that he is. Right, but either way, let's see what he has to say. But before we begin, I know it's greatly appreciated. Hit that like button, turn on bell notifications to stay updated with yours truly. And if you're new and you enjoy, man, and you mess with a kid, make sure to hit that sub button, because once you do, you become part of the family forever. But let's not waste any more time, screen. Let's see what Six has to say about this one.
I've mentioned this before, but Dragon Ball is my favorite anime of all time. With that comes some obvious.
Yeah, it's certainly an all-time great. That's for sure.
It's pretty hard to like or enjoy Dragon Ball without liking Goku, or at the very least having some respect for the guy, considering he's literally in every arc and he is, the main character.
Yep.
I, however, would consider Goku my favorite fictional character in general, like of all time, and I like evaluating my favorite characters this way. I did a similar video on one of my favorites in Naruto, Minato Namikaze, and that video was extremely well received, so I thought, why not do it again? Goku, as I'm sure everyone will be willing to admit, that despite any seemingly good deeds he's done, he has also done some fairly selfish things and made some fairly selfish decisions, such as when he forced Gohan to fight Cell in his place, and subsequently gave the android a Senzu bean just to further draw out Gohan's power in a fair fight, as he called it. While Goku may have had good intentions, obviously meaning for his son to permanently put down Cell, the obvious selfishness in the decision can't go unnoticed. I don't plan to be biased in this video, and I said earlier I do recognize that Goku has done some good deeds. However, I don't think doing a good deed can result in you not being a sociopath, nor do I think sociopaths are immune to doing good deeds. It all depends on the person. Homelander and Tywin Lannister are both good examples of a sociopath who will do good things. However, they both do so with the intention of, in Homelander's case, protecting his public image, and in Tywin's case, to further the position of House Lannister. We see multiple examples of Homelander saving people, and we also see him after doing these things bathing in the praises that rain down upon him from everyone around him. Tywin Lannister authorized the Red Wedding to get rid of Robb Stark, but in doing so he killed Robb's pregnant wife, mother, and Robb himself. They were all slain. But on the bright side, he happened to save thousands of lives for people who would have otherwise died in the war they were fighting. And if you asked Tywin about it, he'd respond with,
"Explain to me why it is more noble to kill 10,000 men in battle than a dozen at dinner."
I actually think what Tywin does here borders on psychopathy, but that's a whole other video. Antisocial personality disorder is another term for sociopathy, and to quickly mention some things about it before getting into the video, this is a mental health disorder characterized by a disregard for other people. Those with antisocial personality disorder, or ASPD, may begin to show symptoms in childhood but can't be diagnosed until adolescence or adulthood. Those with ASPD tend to lie, break laws, act impulsively, and lack regard for their safety or the safety of others. There's obviously more to cover with that, but that's just a brief introduction to it before we get started. It's also important to mention that for this I'll primarily be sticking to the manga, but I'll throw some anime scenes in here as well. But just so you know, Toriyama, the author of Dragon Ball, has stated before that the anime gave Goku a sort of hero feeling that he wasn't going for when he originally wrote the character. I'd appreciate if you leave a like on the video and subscribe as well. These videos are never easy to make and require a great amount of research, but let's begin. Most of the actions I want to take a look at are from Goku when he's in Dragon Ball Z, as I think most of the time when he's a kid he's probably just stupid and learning about life as well. And like I said in the intro, antisocial personality disorder can't really be diagnosed until late adolescence. I also think a lot of people downplay Goku's intelligence in Z. I really think he started being smarter and more competent following his training with Kami, but then in the 5 years after that, in the time skip between original Dragon Ball and Z, I think he got even smarter and more mature. And I think a combination of Team 4-Star filler from the anime and Dragon Ball Super, in which they all depict Goku as a far more goofy character than the original manga, would lead you to believe he's just much more dumber. Starting in the Saiyan arc, I'm going to take a look at a few of Goku's major decisions here, as they all not only help you determine Goku's character, but all of them throw the arc in a different direction than it was going previously. Now, I don't want this video to turn into an every DBZ arc explain type of video, so I'll try to keep the arc recap sections in between decisions brief. The Saiyan arc is kind of split into 3 sections: when Raditz arrives, the training, and then whenever Nappa and Vegeta arrive. So I'm only going to cover the beginning part of the Saiyan saga for now, which is when Goku inevitably meets up with Raditz. The first decision is his response to Raditz's doomsday proposal. The second is his teaming up with Piccolo. The third is his decision to let Raditz tail go after pinning him to the ground. And lastly, his decision to die and bring Raditz down for good. After kidnapping Gohan, Raditz gives Goku a choice, seeing as he had all the power and he knew there was no way Goku could hope to beat him. Goku can either kill 100 humans, pile the dead bodies up on Kame House Island, and join the Saiyans in their conquest of Earth, or Raditz would kill his son. As you can see, there is no third option that would be battle it out and the winner takes Gohan, and that's because Raditz knows that's not a possibility. Remember, not only is Raditz evil, he claims that Vegeta, him, and Nappa need Goku's help in conquering a planet. Goku doesn't even flinch at this offer or entertain it. The first thing he does when Raditz leaves is call the Nimbus Cloud towards him and then try to go after Raditz. I think Goku chooses the morally correct option in this case. Obviously, killing 100 people for the sake of saving his kid would be completely selfish. I'm not saying that he would have been wrong for making the decision. It would have been understandable given the threat he's facing. But next, Goku is given the option to team up with Piccolo, to which he obviously accepts. Funnily enough, I could see Goku either refusing or accepting this offer from Piccolo as valid answers. He realistically couldn't go wrong here. Piccolo is his enemy and could backstab him at any time, and on the other hand, if he fights Raditz alone, he'd die anyway. Decision 3 comes after Goku grabs Raditz's tail and has him pinned down to the ground. Goku letting Raditz's tail go here is kind of dumb, but the main reason I wanted to bring this up is because just to establish a trend for something I'll call out later on, so I want you to keep this in mind. Goku's last decision on this part of the arc is the decision to die to bring down Raditz after his blunder with letting his tail go. This is obviously the ultimate act of selflessness. Like I said in the intro though, I don't believe sociopaths are immune to making selfless acts or doing good deeds, so let's continue. There are really only two more decisions worthy of discussing here, which is Goku's usage of the Kaioken ×4 and his decision to let Vegeta live another day. The only reason I want to talk about the Kaioken ×4 is because, like I mentioned in the intro, a sociopathic tendency is to disregard your own safety or the safety of others, which Goku does here, and I don't think it's fair to apply this to him, at least not here. Let me explain. So if Goku doesn't use the Kaioken, he dies here and Vegeta blows up the earth. That at least justifies him going up to Kaioken ×3. And when they're clashing, Goku has to win this clash. It can't be equal, because if it stays equal, Goku will eventually lose because Kaioken will give out. So he needed that burst of power just to win the clash and save the planet. So like I said, I won't be counting this against Goku. However, from here on out, a lot of Goku's decisions get a lot more questionable, I would say.
Okay, let's see.
Goku decides to let Vegeta go. In action, he says he knows full well is wrong, but he just wants Krillin to do it anyway because in his words, it would just be a waste. We all know this decision ended up working out for them in the long run. Obviously, Vegeta is now a good guy, but that's an unknown factor this time. The important part here is that Goku acknowledges he is doing the wrong thing letting Vegeta go and does it anyway. This directly correlates to another sociopathic tendency I didn't mention in the intro, which is knowing the difference between right and wrong and doing the wrong thing anyway for your own selfish desires. Sociopaths might even feel a little guilt or remorse for what they're about to do, but that doesn't stop them from doing it anyway. That's the difference between a sociopath and like a normal person. Obviously, I have a lot more to cover, and I don't want to call Goku a sociopath based on one decision, so we're just going to move on with the Namek and Frieza arc sections of the story. But before that, I just want to mention a thing that sort of started with Vegeta, which is Goku's willingness to just let his opponents go. He's done this before. He did it with Piccolo, and he did it with Nappa as well, but those always had context to them that made them probably seem like the right decision. Goku saved Piccolo because he knew Kami would die if he didn't, and Goku crippled Nappa, so even though he didn't kill him, he made sure he could never fight again. But just keep this in mind, Goku is willing to let his opponents go as we keep talking about the logic. Like I said, I don't want this to be an arc explained video, and luckily with this next arc and the next few decisions we're going to look at, they don't require the amount of explanations that the Saiyan arc did. Goku arrives on Namek a bit into the arc. If you go by the manga, Krillin, Gohan, and Bulma all arrive on chapter 247, and Goku doesn't get to the battlefield until 32 chapters later on 279.
Alright, so I want to say this real quick. While 6 is correct with his premise being that just because you commit a good deed doesn't disqualify you from being a sociopathic individual, conversely, doing a bad deed that's characteristic of a sociopathic individual does not qualify you to be automatically considered a sociopathic individual, right? Humans are imperfect. There's selfishness embedded in us all, even if we are not sociopathic, meaning we don't reach that threshold of disregard for others, right? So just because he might have made a questionable decision in the Saiyan arc, I know 6 has more, but just because he made that decision doesn't qualify him as a sociopathic individual. And I think that throughout a human's life or an individual's life, they'll tend to make many selfish decisions, right? Sociopathic is a term to describe an individual, right? There must be an arbitrary level of antisocial behavior and disregard for others to be determined as a sociopathic individual. And who determines that? Obviously a medical professional. So there's a threshold of selfishness that you can still dwell in and still be considered not sociopathic, right? So I think that's something important to keep in mind, right? It's not a black and white unit of measurement when trying to label individuals sociopathic or psychopathic, etc., right? It's arbitrary, and most medical professionals could probably see someone's profile and determine, okay, this guy's sociopathic and this guy's not. But there's certainly an arbitrary threshold that you must meet, right? Which can vary even slightly from medical professional to medical professional. It could certainly vary. The more blatant it is, the easier it is to diagnose. But however, the point I'm trying to make is there has to be a good amount of empirical evidence that is blatant to suggest someone is sociopathic. Let's continue on.
Now, a lot of the first decisions Goku makes are dumb in my opinion, especially because of the knowledge he has access to. So the beginning portions of this are all up to your own interpretations, whether you call them naivety or sociopathic tendencies. I personally call them naivety But Goku letting the Ginyu Force leave is just completely and utterly stupid. His logic is that they are simply beaten, so there's no point to killing them. However, these are galactic space terrorists, and it's not like Goku planned to fight them again, or even to fight them at all. He gives Jace and Berta the choice to just leave and go back home if they want to, and even after Jace tells him that they aren't, and their elite squad of 5 people made up of the best warriors in the universe, he still just lets Jace leave. I'm not even going to imply that Goku has to dismember, cripple, or kill these guys. I'm just saying giving them the choice of, hey, fight me or go be free to terrorize the universe is kinda awkward. Now, it can be said Goku is in the moment and hindsight is 2020, so I can call these things out as a reader, but I think it's equally fair to say Goku thinks at the speed of light and faster, so yeah. Moving on to his fight with Frieza, when Goku turns Super Saiyan, this guy is just completely different than he was before, and it's shown to us even through his paneling and speech bubbles. Throughout the Dragon Ball manga, Toriyama draws the softer speaking characters with a bubbly, rounded speech bubble when they speak, like base Goku, Krillin, and Gohan. They all have this. The more intense or evil characters are drawn with sharper speech bubbles, Vegeta, Frieza, and Piccolo to name a few, all of the villains. Goku, after his transformation into a Super Saiyan, is no longer drawn with the rounder speech bubbles, which is a change you would never be able to notice while only watching the anime.
Yep.
Goku letting Frieza reach full power is nothing but selfish and it dangerous people. He claims he doesn't want to have any regrets as a warrior, and this gets into the problem of Goku's genetics, where we all know Goku loves a good fight. However, that's not an excuse for what he's doing, it's just a reason for what he's doing. It doesn't excuse any behavior, it only tells us the reason why he's making these decisions. Goku even goes as far as staying on Namek so he can just finish the fight with Frieza, not even kill him. He literally just wants to beat him because of what he did to Krillin. He even goes as far as telling King Kai if he doesn't let him finish this fight, he'll hold it against him for the rest of his life. Goku had been stalling for time to get people off the planet. That much is true. He'd been fighting Frieza, basically Frieza's way the entire fight, in the sky and holding back. We learned earlier Goku prefers hand-to-hand combat on the ground, and after everyone is gone, Goku goes back to the ground, back to his preferred way of fighting, and not playing Frieza's games anymore. When this happens, Goku utterly destroys Frieza and beats him down badly. The anime makes this seem much more close, but after returning to the ground, Goku versus Frieza doesn't even last the entire rest of a chapter. Frieza's breathing heavy, Goku isn't, and then Goku humiliates Frieza with the speech, but after this, he just leaves. He claims he's going to go home and just leave. This is another situation like the Ginyu Force thing, but in this case I can't let it go as being naive because Vegeta warned Goku twice about how stupid it is to not just kill Frieza, and Frieza has killed trillions of people along with his best friend Krillin, so there's no reason Goku should be letting Frieza live no matter how hopeful he is he might change. Goku is genuinely disappointed when Frieza doesn't change, and he gives him this sad look after blasting him away. The anime changes this to more of a mad look, but it's whatever. I also wanted to mention Goku bats Frieza's blast away in the anime and blows it into a nearby planet that literally blows up. It's unknown whether or not this planet was inhabited or not, but I just wanted to mention that he did do this. After this, Goku stays on Yardrat, but that's not too important. They were nursing him back to health and then he was training after that. We see Goku doesn't teleport to Frieza whenever he gets to Earth, which is also pretty weird, but I'm sure if he sensed the Earth was in danger, he would have used instantaneous movement to get there. I will say Goku at least grows up a bit here and says that this time when he fought Frieza he would have finished him off for good, and I think it's fair to take him serious since Trunks confirms that in the future timeline he's from, Goku did exactly that. Now we get into the dumb selfish crap. Goku makes an extremely selfish decision to just fight the bad robot guys instead of just killing Dr. Gero. So far, Trunks has been right about everything, so taking him serious about being from the future and what will happen is what should have been done, and all the Z fighters go find Dr. Gero and beat him up. Like I said, there is at least some merit to what Trunks had said at this point. I do want to give them a tiny bit of leniency on this. We don't really know if Dr. Gero was already an android by this time, so there is a chance that they would have found him and then he would have completely wiped the floor with them. However, there is no way they could have known that, so I don't want to give them credit for it. This is more of a group thing than a solely Goku decision, but the main ones advocating this are the battle crazy Saiyans who just can't be cowards. And I understand the genetic need for battle these guys have. However, this, like I mentioned earlier in another example, is not an excuse for their behavior. It's only the reasoning it's happening. And I'll reiterate what I mean by this. It's not an excuse for their action, or it doesn't excuse their actions. It only gives us a reason as to why those actions are being made. If you ask an axe murderer why he murdered someone with an axe, he's likely to tell you a reason he did it, but it doesn't excuse his action. Same type of thing is going on here. I also want to say I'm not complaining that the characters don't act completely realistic or logical in this situation. I've defended characters being stupid or irrational before because I think that character flaws are needed to make characters more entertaining.
Absolutely.
Walter White, for example, he's a genius, but if you take his sense of pride away, Breaking Bad would be like 2 or 3 episodes long maybe. I also understand the perspective of Dr. Garrow hasn't really done anything bad yet, but he was the chief scientist of literally the most evil army in the human race. So you kind of also had to take that into account. Anyway, I've been on about this long enough. I'm going to stop complaining and just move on. Goku's out of the story for a while after this, aside from his fight with Android 19, where he actively fights knowing something is wrong with him, which is again lacking regard for his own safety, a sociopathic tendency, but I won't harp on it too much here considering it did come out of nowhere and at the wrong time according to what Trunks said. Now after this, Goku is really out of the arc for a while, and we don't get another one of his major decisions until the Room of Spirit and Time or Hyperbolic Time Chamber get revealed. I actually want to defend Goku here. He knew about this since he was a kid and never told anyone about it, but that's because the conditions of the room are extremely harsh and he hated it inside of there. Beyond that, it wasn't too much needed before, and Goku didn't have the time to tell them at other points. During the time skip between DB and Z, the world was at peace, and then after that, Goku died and couldn't talk to them, and then after that, everyone immediately either died or went to Namek where they were expecting peaceful people. After that, Goku was off-world for a year with the Yardrats, and after that, they had 3 years to train anyway, so they didn't need the chamber. Then we get to that decision, and everyone knows what I'm talking about, when Goku hands Cell the Senzu Bean before he fights Gohan. I don't think anyone actually likes this moment. Sure, over the years, people become more lenient and begin to understand this moment a bit more, myself included, but I don't think that makes anyone like the moment per se. If I'm wrong, feel free to comment, obviously. Goku in this moment is so concerned with what he wants, he ignores what Gohan wants and fails to understand his son as a person, and not only is this selfish, he endangers Gohan's life in the process while burdening him with the weight of saving the world at just 9 years old. And yes, Gohan was 9 here. Toriyama says the Buu saga is 7 years after the Cell saga, and Gohan was 16. So go argue with the wall. I think this moment was not only idiotic but sociopathic as well, as I understand Goku's confidence in Gohan, but that doesn't make the decision any better because Gohan didn't need confidence, he just needed to not be down there in the first place. And say if Android 16 wasn't down there, a few other Z fighters might have actually died before Gohan snapped. 16's death isn't what broke Gohan, despite what the original dub might tell you. 16 is the reason Gohan was able to let go and stop holding back because of what he told him. I don't want to dissect that too much, maybe in a video about Gohan, but not here. Goku is just completely selfish here, but I know he realized his mistake and wanted to correct it, and ultimately did by sacrificing himself to save everyone. Is what I would say if Goku did not blow up King Kai in the process. Goku gets to King Kai's planet, apologizes for killing him, and then dies. Keep in mind, Goku isn't out of ki or anything. He ate a Senzu Bean, and it's not like he was too slow. He spoke an entire sentence before Cell blew up, and Goku can move far faster than light, and even if you don't think he can teleport. I will genuinely never accept this as a genuine move. I'm sorry. After this, Goku decides that he needs to stay dead so the bad guys don't come for the planet anymore, and he mentions a quote from Bulma where she says apparently Goku attracts bad guys, and I don't want to get into why this technically isn't true and is really only a recent thing, but sure, it's noble, I guess. Okay, we are finally at the Majin Buu saga, and luckily this is the last arc I'm going to cover for this video because it's already far too long as it is. Goku doesn't enter this saga until fairly deep into it, and his selfishness doesn't really come out until the middle of the arc. Goku makes the decision to fight Vegeta, and in doing so releases Majin Buu from his shell and dooms the entire world. Yeah, we all know this, though he also before this threatened to kill Shin just to make this fight happen. Now I know Goku didn't know this, but he almost also killed Beerus here. and basically threw the Universe 7 God politics thing way off with this move. So Goku versus Vegeta's selfish squabble literally almost ended the God of Destruction and Whis before we were ever even introduced to them in the first place. And to this day, I'm not really sure why Goku wanted to participate in this fight with Vegeta other than for completely selfish reasons. He ignored the threat of Majin Buu completely and places Vegeta's pride over everyone else's safety as he claims he's going to go full power and finish the job and finish Vegeta off quickly. But that is just 100% not true. He may have gone full power in Super Saiyan 2, but he was most certainly not at his maximum because he did not use Super Saiyan 3, which would have allowed him to stomp Vegeta quickly so Buu didn't get revived. The only reason I'll even be a little lenient on this is because Supreme Kai kept overestimating Babidi's people. So maybe they didn't think Buu would be all that strong, but that's not an excuse to let him out and threaten Shin's life. This is nothing but selfish, and it plays into Goku's genetics, his willingness to let his opponents go, and his sociopathic tendencies. Then we have him starting to train Goten and Trunks for the fusion, and we see Bulma come in concerned about her parents, and this could be taken as selfish, but I think it speaks more to the impact that Dragon Ball has on these people's lives, where Goku is just like, so what, we'll use the Dragon Balls, but yeah, I just wanted to mention it. Goku confronting Majin Buu, sure, it's fine, it's a bit stupid, but it's fine. The bad part is that Goku didn't just kill Fat Buu, like he said he could later on. I guess I can semi-understand the reason of wanting the kids to get a shot, and it's not really his place to do it with him being dead and all, but I think it's still kind of just short-sighted. This is the same sort of situation like with Goku in the Cell games, but Goku can't account for the unknown, and then it ends up getting him into trouble, so he should just go with the safe option. In the case of Cell, that literally got him killed, and it didn't do any better for him here. Buu evolved, and Gotenks couldn't get the job done. The only difference this time is that Goku got to come back to life and correct his mistake. That's pretty much it for all the decisions I've covered. Like I said in the intro though, I think Goku is good, does good things.
Interesting analysis.
But I think
I'm definitely gonna get my thoughts right now.
Biased to ignore all the selfish things he's done as well. So is Goku a sociopath? Probably not, but he definitely has some sociopathic tendencies and can be completely selfish at times. I didn't even get into Dragon Ball Super or original Dragon Ball with this, but yeah, obviously if you
good videos, always 6 videos,
let me know in the comments. Leave a like on this video if you liked it and subscribe as well. But other than that, have a nice day.
All right, I definitely want to get my thoughts here and say this. I agree with Six's conclusion and his final premise, which he just said, which is that Goku is not a sociopathic individual, right? I think there needs to be a certain level of consistency to establish and diagnose someone with sociopathic behavior. And on top of that, it has to be consistent through all aspects in life, not just in battle, but I mean in every major interaction in a person's life, with your family, going to the grocery store, and in this case, training, etc. Right? So I don't think there's enough empirically to conclude that Goku's a sociopathic individual. But what I will say though is that Saiyans have a genetic predisposition to have a superiority complex, right? They want to conquer. Saiyans are genetically predisposed and designed to conquer other worlds, right? That's what they do, or what they did before Frieza exterminated them and nearly caused them to go extinct. They're genetically predisposed to conquer, to taste battle, to taste blood, if you will, right? That's why Vegeta is the way he is. That's why Goku is the way he is. That's why the other Saiyans are the way they are. They have that primal tendency to want to conquer and triumph over every opponent that they face, right? Because of that, I will say that Goku can display sociopathic behavior, but that does not necessarily make him a sociopathic individual. I think when his Saiyan blood is boiling, right, and his genetic hardwiring is coming into play, which is specifically when he's in battle, he tends to be more selfish, right? Letting Frieza go, letting the Ginyu Force go, allowing Majin Vegeta to give him a better fight, not going Super Saiyan 3. This is his Saiyan pride, due to his genetic predisposition to want to conquer, to want to triumph, to want to be the superior to his opponents, right? Him and Vegeta both have that. Vegeta has a similar tendency, right? He wants to win the right way, meaning I'm gonna beat you at your best, at your brightest, right? So Goku has displayed that at times. One of the worst examples was when he gave Cell a senzu bean, who was a solar system threat. He gave him a senzu bean and said, hey, let's see you at full strength. That is absolutely absurd when you look at it logically and remove your pride and your Saiyan genetic predisposition to the side. It's an absolutely ridiculous decision, with selfishness and pride certainly being the catalyst for that horrible decision. It's a terrible decision. As far as him allowing his son to fight Cell and put the nail in the coffin, I don't consider that sociopathic. I consider that an attempt by Goku to be a good father. He's trying to push his son to new heights, right? It might not be the safest of means on the balance of probability, statistically speaking, but it does push your son to new heights, right? That's what Goku wanted for his son. He wanted his son to be better than him, right? Every great father wants that. So that's what he was doing. That's what he was doing, right? He was trying to push his son to be better. Is there a statistical probability that he could die? Yes. But to Goku, risks are important. That's how you reach new heights. Risks are how Saiyans evolve, essentially. Right? You see Goku against Frieza. The odds were definitely against him at the beginning of their altercation on planet Namek. He was certainly outmatched and outgunned by Frieza, but what happened? The risk he took facing this individual and having his friends there pushed him to new heights. Right? When Frieza eliminated Krillin, that allowed the risk to pay off. Right? That allowed him to reach new heights and triumph over Frieza. But then his selfishness came in, his pride came in, and he let Frieza go. He let Frieza go, and that was his mistake. He let a lot of antagonists go that, logically speaking, probably shouldn't be around no more. Frieza probably shouldn't be around no more. Just like Cell. Why? He has this malicious predisposition to want to conquer and completely annihilate when he's able. Specifically the Saiyans, right? Frieza always had a problem with the Saiyans, saw them as a threat to some arbitrary extent, which is why he exterminated their planet. But when Goku humbled him, that really set his grudge against the Saiyans to new heights. And even currently in Dragon Ball Super, the reason that he got achieved his new form, which is Black Frieza, is because of the grudge that he held. The burning desire to want to conquer these Saiyans, which is why he pushed himself to such a great extent here. Frieza never does that, right? He never goes that far. In fact, he never even trained very much before becoming Golden Frieza. Even to achieve this Golden Frieza form, he trained only a few months. But as he saw that gap widen, he said, I have to work harder. I have to put more in to achieve and conquer. Right? So, if anything, Frieza displays more consistently sociopathic behavior. He really doesn't care about anybody. He killed Broly's father just to set him off to attack Goku and Vegeta. He doesn't care at all. So, all in all, Goku's not sociopathic. I think he is very prideful, and he lets his ego get the best of him. Saiyans in general allow that, right? But again, that's the catalyst for evolution. Literally. That's how these guys reach new heights. Right? They have to take risks, and some of these risks can result in quite a harsh outcome, as we've seen throughout Goku's history with his own son, with his friends, with his family, with the very universe he's protecting. He takes these huge risks because he has the innate genetic predisposition to want to conquer and evolve. Him and Vegeta. Right, so this is a good video. It's a good analysis. It's an interesting thing to think about. There's some arguments that Goku could be sociopathic. I think they're quite weak, and that the empirical evidence isn't abundant enough or blatant enough to consider him a sociopathic individual. And clearly 6 has that same premise and conclusion. Right, so that's going to wrap it up, though, folks. Very interesting video. And feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think Goku is sociopathic? Do you think there are individuals in Dragon Ball that are sociopathic, psychopathic, etc.? Whatever your thoughts may be, make sure to leave them down in the comment section below. And once again, also make sure to leave down below any future recommendations from other creators, whether it's anime or other topics, whatever it may be. If enough of you show that you want that, I will certainly do that in the future. But that's going to wrap it up, and I'll catch you in the next one. This is the other guy signing out. Peace.